or whether you're departing, you get that nice signature shot of basically Tumon Bay all the way down to Agani Bay. And I think our friend John Quinata, the executive director, probably's got a pretty good view of the island from his office. I would say, JQ, is that the case?
I definitely look out my office and see the view. There is some obstruction, but if I make some adjustment to where I'm at, that yes, I will be looking at Tumon, and definitely a beautiful view from my standpoint.
That's a great way to start the day. And then if you turn around 180 degrees, you can look at the tarmac too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, from my office, I cannot see the tarmac. It's blocked by the third floor corridor.
They're going to build something across from the airport, right, JQ? It's what's that store? There's some chain store that they're going to build, right?
What store?
There's like a chain store they're going to build across the street from the airport. I think it came up last year. I forgot already what it is, but that's probably going to further obstruct your view a little bit.
Maybe there was a plan to build a hotel.
There you go.
In that area, but as of this day, I don't think that plan has gone forward since COVID came in.
Okay, so. Right on.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask real quick, JQ, because I was asking you during the break, and I was like, I just wanted to get confirmation because it's GVB that actually keeps the official stats and ultimately publishes like the data and the reports on how many people are coming and going. But just from your perspective, how does it seem the foot traffic has? I'm assuming it's increased in the last few weeks of just the number of people you see go in and out of the terminals, correct?
I will tell you that since the protocols have changed, the amount of arriving passengers and departing passengers has risen. So it has increased. So definitely we're starting to see the amount of traffic. And then also we're starting to get airlines to start requesting for space again here at the airport. So that's a sign that they're starting to plan to start flying in.
Outstanding.
JQ, what about the process of verifying vaccinations for incoming travelers so that they can skip out on the quarantine? We're hearing it's a little backed up. Is that what you see too, or no?
Well, the protocol or the processing, we've modified the processing here at the airport. So before, when you come in, you'll go to your baggage, get your baggage, and then you line up. Now, when you come in, you go straight to processing. And basically, processing is when they validate if an individual has been vaccinated. Where have they been vaccinated? If they've been vaccinated on Guam, they have the ability to go into the website and validate that through WebIZ. If they've been vaccinated elsewhere out of Guam, they would request for their vaccination card and a secondary document to show that where they got vaccinated is really true and correct.
Do you think that when they stand up that QR code thing on the public health side, that it would just make it a lot quicker?
I think so. I think the goal is once that is stood up and is working the way it's supposed to, those processing tables will probably be taken away, right, where that the QR code will show exactly individuals' health record and vaccination validation.
What's the protocol for seeing people off or greeting arrivals? Has it changed as we're ramping towards normalcy?
For departures, we are allowing 3 well-wishers per passenger to go into the airport. Of course, you know the Chamorros, right? They're very creative.
Oh, yeah.
They'll befriend someone outside and say, hey, I'm with this passenger. But we're not really strict on it until we get into the airport and we see a big congregation. Right. And then we start to request that they follow the protocols. But for arrivals, it's still the same. They cannot come into the arrival section because of the folks commingling in that area. So they would have to be waiting outside where the concrete overhang is at.
And that's something that you haven't had to deal with for a while, because arriving passengers for the last year have been going straight to quarantine.
That's correct. So we do have folks, when the folks are being taken over to the transportation bus that they're going to be riding in, there's the ability to see them, but you cannot have any direct contact. So there's maybe about 15 feet of space between the passengers being led out to the buses versus the people coming in. They're still able to see their loved ones or their friends that are coming in, but no physical contact.
Are you privy at all, JQ, to the discussions or with Jeju Airlines?
I can't. I didn't get what you said.
Are you privy to the discussions that GVB is having with Jeju Airlines about when we reopen tourism?
I have not. I was not in that discussion, so I don't know exactly what they've talked about. We do know that Jeju Airlines is one of the airlines that are requesting for space so that they can start having their planes start to come in. There's also Starlux that has requested DOT's authorization. So that's in the process.
Any other airlines? Just those two?
We got Jin Air, of course,
okay.
Philippine Airlines that continues to come in. Jin Air comes in once a week on Wednesdays. And of course, United Airlines are airlines that continue to operate ever since. Even with the COVID shutdown, they were at least operating the Honolulu and Narita flights. And then also they included the Philippine flights coming in 4 times a week.
Have we seen the number of flights out and into Guam increase over the last couple of months?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, when Jason asked that question, yes, since the protocol changed on May 15th, we've seen an increase in passenger arrivals.
Right on. So what do you think, JQ? I mean, you've been around the block. Are we heading back to normal or what?
I think I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see interest, and then with this Airbnb that's coming in, I've started to see expats that are coming in to take advantage of getting vaccinated here on Guam. I know through there is discussion once the governor gets the approval. There's a bunch of expats that are in Taiwan that wants to come to Guam. So they're trying to set up some flights to come here from Taiwan.
Yeah, JQ, I got another question because I remember as long as I've been alive, the airport, even going back to like the old airport days, the institution of the Guam airport, it always kind of carried with it like, it was a social experience because like you said, the Chamorro custom is, if your Nino is going off on a trip, even for like 3 days, you bring all the cousins and, your godbrothers and your godfathers because, you want to wish him well. And when somebody comes back, you typically have like a big welcoming ceremony. And then post 9/11, there was this very concerted effort to make sure that it was safe and everything was, by the numbers and by the book. And, I know with your military experience, you've certainly continued that tradition. But as the leader of the airport and from your executive standpoint, how do you actually begin to transition your staff and your team and everybody that's working in their various capacities, the vendors, the federal partners, the local staffers, what have you, to return to a somewhat normal operational tempo, when tourism begins to reopen again? Because I'm sure that's going to be at least a little bit of an awkward transition, given that things have been kind of like so slow for the last 15 months.
Yeah, so we know that just like 911, things change, and that changed for permanently, and I think that's what's going to happen with COVID. So one of the issues that Customs and Border Protection is implementing is called the biometric system.
Mm-hmm.
Biometric system now is that, as far as the person-to-person contact coming in, it's going to be less, where individual can come in, check in, and instead of checking into the counter, it's based on their facial recognition. Based on that facial recognition, it'll give you your boarding pass. It'll give you your baggage claim tickets. Then you go over to baggage claim, where you're going to turn in your baggage to TSA, and it'll validate that you're the person turning in that luggage that's on that ticket. Then you go over to TSA, and you know how you go into TSA and they take your passport and they validate that. Well, if the biometric system works properly, you don't even need to have a person there. It looks at you through facial recognition again, and then the gate will open for you, and then you go through the system. Even when you're boarding the aircraft, it does that. It checks you in based on your facial recognition. Then arriving, if you're coming in from a third world country or a foreign country, not a third world country, but a foreign country, it'll be able to capture yourself through that system. And if you've been in the U.S. before, it already keeps a data on yourself, and you'll be able to speed up the process in coming in. So less contact, person-to-person contact is in the future.
Have your staff indicated at all that, and they're like, hey, boss, JQ, it's admittedly been like a little weird, although we're really excited about it when we see maybe a flight of maybe 100, 150 people, like get off the plane and disembark, and then we have to process them. Because I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, people were saying, we need a whole crew to be able to facilitate and run people through like a flight that maybe had like 2 or 3 people on it. So is the volume and everything like that? Is that is there a transition period?
Yes, but in the beginning, we were just learning, right? The process, we're just, as we go along, we start to adjust to things. So we're doing much more with much less people now, because we've streamlined the process. So yes, you're right. You're right, Jay. In the beginning, we're doing like 20 passengers and 777 aircraft and stuff. So now we're experiencing average of 220 passengers per plane now. So it's really drastically picking up.
Oh, okay. And real quick, since I mentioned vendors a couple moments ago, are all vendors inside the airport operational right now? And if not, when will they return? Like say the snack shop, or like some of the places where people can eat.
So what we've done, we know that not all the food court vendors can open up, because there's not enough passengers to keep them employed, or even busy, even enough to pay for just their wage and hours for the folks that are working. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we're rotating the vendors, still able to have a vendor open in the 24-hour period. We have different vendors that are open to stagger them, so that at least we have some vendors that are open to support not only the passengers, but the people that are working there at the airport. So yeah, they're not all open at the same time. However, we're allowing them to, and we've scheduled them so at least one vendor is open to support folks that are transiting or are leaving, or people that are working at the airport.
Okay, right on.
What about, we already asked you about your, you guys got funding, federal funding, right, to augment operations at the airport?
Yeah, so we had what in the beginning, the first funding we had was the CARES Act, and the CARES Act gave us about $20 million in funding, and that's just to keep the airport open, keep it running, and so forth. Even with that, we are drastically short in the budget, so we had to make sure that we cut down a lot of our contracts. We cut down a lot of the procurement, only critical things that we needed to purchase that we had to do. things that we need to purchase to make sure that we keep the airport safe and secure. So we drastically cut those down. So we got $20 million in the CARES Act, and then for the second, the CRISA, we were able to get $5 million. So it's a little, it's enough to keep us going, although way or not far short of what we need. So on this on the American Rescue Plan, we have not gotten yet what we're projected to get, and we don't even know what that is yet. FAA has not finalized exactly what the airports are going to get, so we're still guessing at this time. And then, of course, lost revenue. We've submitted our lost revenue request to the governor, and so for her to consider, and hopefully we'll get something from that. We don't know yet because the final guidance from the federal government hasn't been received yet.
Right. Are you able to tell us how much you guys requested and what it'll be used for if you get it?
Well, what we requested to the governor for lost revenue. This is lost revenue, not for budget going forward. For lost revenue, we requested $35 million, in excess of $35 million, and that's not only for this fiscal year, but last fiscal year and this fiscal year. That's not including FY22.
Wow. Just so strictly for lost revenue, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got to remember that we had, like what you guys mentioned, the vendors that were here at the airport. Those folks, of course, struggled because there was not enough passengers coming in, and so that's lost revenue that we had. Plus, the airport runs on in-plane passengers, so departing and arriving passengers is what drives the airport budget.
Right. So it took a big hit there, Jay. You good?
Well, real quick, JK, we did have one question because, and since you brought up the food vendors again, BevTest J Salas was asking us on Facebook, does your rotating of the food vendors or the vendors, does that also include the retailers?
On the retailers, that's Lotte duty free. So they are open, and I don't think they're open at the midnight hours when you got flights that come in, for example, Narita and stuff. But they do open up to about, I think, 10 p.m. But not all of them are open. Just certain areas of the merchandise areas are open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was kind of, if I can just throw something in my own family's kind of like tradition, if you want to call it that, was like whenever we took like a flight going out, everybody stops at the bookstore, get a comic book to read, and my mom, my dad, my sister, and I, and everything, and that's how they kept us quiet on the flights.
I always grab a Whopper.
Yeah, we do that.
I have a Whopper.
Oh, I got the French toast sticks, bro.
Yeah, I get the Whopper, and then I go over to Bestseller and get like a magazine. Then I read. I always finish reading it before the plane even takes off. Never fails. Well, JQ, anything in closing you want to add that we forgot to ask? Because Sabrina's not here, so I feel like this was a fluff interview.
Not a problem. Well, thank you, Guam, for all those folks that are getting vaccinated. You're part of making it sure that for us to open up our island. You're part of you're the piece of the puzzle that's making us successful in doing that. And I encourage everyone to try and get vaccinated so that we can get the percentage up in our herd immunity. Yeah, we all got to get together and be as a team.
Yeah, don't forget you can register to win $10,000 or a brand new car.
Yep.
Jay, what is it again?
Yeah, it's going to be next Wednesday. So you've got 6 days now at 7:21 in the morning, and you want to go to visitguam.com/VAX if you have been vaccinated at any point.
Right. There you go, JQ. Make sure you register.
I'm ineligible.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
cabinet members.
I just wanted to rub it in your face a little bit.
But you know what? As we said at the top of the interview, he does have that wonderful vista that he can look
He does,
out. So
yeah.
I think that's a fair trade.
Makes up for it. Thanks, JQ.
All right, you guys have a good day.
That's
Be
that.
safe.
Adios.
Appreciate it. Right on. John Quinata, Guam International Airport Authority General Manager. We had, Minority Leader Senator Chris Duenas on earlier in the show, and he was talking about when these agency heads go before the legislature and talk about, well, actually they don't talk about how much money they're getting or they're